Let the journey of discovery begin. What about the black holes out there? A quiet summer night. The sky is clear. People sit on their porches, slowly sipping cool drinks, eyes fixed on the glittering Milky Way. Suddenly, a strange flash streaks across the sky, not a star, not a plane, just a patch of darkness, as if the universe had lost a piece of itself. That is a black hole, and if it were moving toward Earth, it would set the stage for the most devastating game of cosmic survival ever played. But should we be afraid? Are black holes really lurking out there like sharks among the stars, waiting to swallow our planet? In the Milky Way, there are about 400 billion stars, a number staggering to the human mind. Among them, roughly 1 in every 800 collapses into a black hole. That means there could be up to 1 billion black holes drifting through our galaxy, like invisible cosmic assassins. But don't panic, the space between stars is so vast it defies imagination. If each star were the size of a basketball, the distance between them would still be measured in miles. Earth orbits the Sun at over 93 million miles away, and the distant Kuiper Belt is just a speck compared to the width of the galaxy. The nearest star, Proxima Centauri, is over 4.2 light-years away. That's about 40 trillion kilometers. So even with billions of black holes roaming the galaxy, the odds of one randomly colliding with Earth are like finding a single grain of dust in a stadium. But if one day, against all odds, a black hole finds its way here, would humanity escape the impact of destiny? The answer drifts somewhere out there, lost among the stars. A space tornado is. At the center of our galaxy, it isn't a blazing star shining brighter than 1,000 suns, nor a secret civilization hidden in the dark. What's happening there defies imagination, and no one can fully predict it. About 25,000 light-years from Earth, deep in the Milky Way's core, violent chaos swirls among the stars and cosmic dust. There, in humanity's galactic home, space tornadoes roar like a massive blender on its highest setting. The galaxy's dense core, known as the central molecular zone, harbors long, thin filaments of gas and dust, twisting like spaghetti in a cosmic NutriBullet. This strange discovery was led by astronomer Kai Yang and an international team from Shanghai Jiao Tong University. They used the ALMA telescope, the Atacama Large Submillimeter Array, an instrument like a 4 Kelvin camera on triple espresso, with astonishing resolution, 0.01 parsec, capable of spotting a tic-tac on the moon. But what exactly are these space tornadoes? They are not a term commonly heard. These swirling structures were detected through traces of silicon monoxide, a compound that only forms when shock waves collide with gas clouds. Strangely, the filaments do not drift randomly through space. They behave like aggressive couriers, distributing molecules released by shocks, flinging them into the cosmos, like Oprah handing out free cars. Professor Xing Lu from the Shanghai Observatory first called them space tornadoes, and the name fits perfectly. These narrow, fast, chaotic spirals, like Earth's tornadoes, tear through everything in their path and vanish without a trace. They are cosmic tempests that scoop up molecules and hurl them into chaos only to disappear silently. Scientists believe these tornadoes may hold the key to material regeneration at the galaxy's center. Figuratively speaking, they are cosmic compost bins, where stardust and wandering matter are churned, crushed, and reborn as raw material for planets, stars, and even black holes. What creates them? Why do they exist? The answers remain elusive. But one thing is certain, they play a vital role in the life cycle of matter at the Milky Way's core. They may even help feed the nearby supermassive black hole. The next step is to keep watching, keep probing with ALMA, keep tracking those strange molecules, and diving deeper into the galactic jungle. Because the last thing Earth needs is to be blindsided by a rogue space tornado. Just when we think the universe can't get any stranger, it surprises us again. Earth's magnetic pole reversal. One day, if compass needles suddenly spin wildly, GPS stops working accurately, and flocks of migrating birds lose their way in the sky, it wouldn't be science fiction. It would be the real scenario of Earth's magnetic field reversing. North becomes south, and south becomes north, something that seems impossible, yet has happened before in our planet's history. Beneath Earth's crust, about 1,800 miles down, lies the churning outer core. Swirling molten metal there generates electric currents. Combined with Earth's rotation, they create a massive magnetic field that extends into space. This invisible force acts like a giant bar magnet running through the planet, shielding life from deadly solar radiation. Without it, ultraviolet rays would scorch even the darkest corners of the Earth. But this magnetic field is not permanent. Over the last 100 million years, Earth's poles have reversed about 170 times. The most recent reversal occurred 780,000 years ago, and before that, a shorter event took place around 41,000 years ago, lasting less than a millennium. The exact cause of these reversals remains a mystery. No one knows for sure why they happen. What is clear is that the process doesn't occur overnight. It can take hundreds to thousands of years, during which the magnetic field gradually weakens. Since the 19th century, humans have measured Earth's magnetic field and discovered that it is weakening. Satellite data shows its strength has dropped by about 5% per decade. Some scientists believe this could be an early sign of a new reversal, possibly within the next 1,500 years. Others think it's just a temporary fluctuation. If Earth truly enters a pole reversal, will the world collapse? Probably not. There's no evidence that past reversals caused mass extinctions or global catastrophes, but that doesn't mean the process will be smooth. A weakened magnetic field could allow more cosmic radiation to reach the surface, increasing cancer risks and disrupting power grids and communication systems. Animals that navigate using Earth's magnetic field, like migratory birds or whales, might lose their sense of direction. A goose flying to Florida could end up landing in Finland. The world wouldn't fall back into the Stone Age, but chaos would ensue. People might need a new kind of compass or learn to navigate by the stars. When that time comes, will smartphones still be reliable? Or will humans once again look to the sky to find their way home? The planet, killing asteroid. If a massive asteroid were on a collision course with Earth, it wouldn't be a Hollywood movie plot. It would be a global emergency with apocalyptic consequences. While NASA and other space agencies insist the risk is currently low, recent near misses and advanced simulations prove that our planet is far from invincible. One rock, in particular, is keeping scientists awake at night: the asteroid Bennu. About the size of the Empire State Building, it has already made an unsettlingly close pass by Earth and could do so again in the future. Imagine the worst-case scenario. NASA detects an asteroid the size of Mount Everest hurtling toward Earth, with only 10 years before impact. Governments panic and hold emergency meetings. Scientists debate how to deflect the colossal object. Space agencies worldwide unite, launching nuclear-tipped rockets a year before the collision, only to fail. With just months left, FEMA orders mass evacuations from predicted impact zones. As the countdown hits zero, the entire world holds its breath. Sounds like science fiction? Most of it isn't. NASA has already launched planetary defense programs like NEOS and the Catalina Sky Survey to monitor the skies. In April 2024, a real asteroid only 1 meter wide hit Earth and was detected just 8 hours before impact. This raised alarms, especially after NASA admitted that stopping a planet killer would require at least 14 years of preparation. Even with a decade of warning, options remain limited. The DART mission in 2022 successfully altered the path of a harmless small asteroid, a promising test. But if the target were to arrive within 5 years, no plan would likely be ready in time. The last resort, nuclear weapons. But forget the slow-motion cinematic explosions. To completely destroy a 12-mile wide asteroid, humanity would need energy equivalent to 200 gigatons of TNT, about 10 million Hiroshima bombs. Perhaps only NASA's Space Launch System or SpaceX's Starship could carry such a warhead, and neither has ever been tested in a real scenario. Now imagine what happens if the asteroid strikes. First comes the explosion, triggering massive earthquakes, tsunamis, and firestorms. Then, millions of tons of dust and gas rise into the atmosphere, blocking the sun and plunging Earth into a nuclear winter. Within hours, communication networks collapse, oxygen levels drop, and global famine begins. According to climate models from the IBS Center for Climate Physics in South Korea, even a mid-sized asteroid like Bennu, about 1,600 feet wide, could cause prolonged climate chaos. Supercomputer ALF simulations show that if Bennu hit Earth, global temperatures would drop by 7 degrees Fahrenheit, rainfall would decrease by 15%, and the ozone layer would shrink by 32%. Photosynthesis on land and in the oceans would fall by 20 to 30%, crippling ecosystems and potentially triggering a mass extinction. Yet not all life would vanish. Surprisingly, simulations suggest that ocean plankton could recover within 6 months, fueled by iron-rich dust from the impact. These particles would act as nutrients, sparking a plankton bloom that might even benefit marine life in the long run. In other words, the land could become desolate, but the oceans might throw a phytoplankton party. As for Bennu, NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission collected samples from the asteroid and returned them to Earth in 2023, allowing scientists to study its composition. Bennu has a 1 in 2,700 chance of hitting Earth on September 24, 2182, about 0.037%. Yet that small number is enough to keep astronomers staring at the night sky with unease. The black and red moon trees. NASA's Artemis program is currently working to return American astronauts to the moon and establish a long-term base there. One of the key factors in sustaining life on the moon is the ability to grow plants in lunar soil. Scientists at the University of Florida conducted experiments using 12 grams of lunar soil brought back from 6 Apollo missions. They planted seeds in small containers filled with lunar soil, using volcanic ash as a control because it closely resembles lunar material. The results showed that plants could grow, but they were smaller and displayed unusual colors. The leaves turned black and red instead of green. This proves that while plants can grow in lunar soil, they develop weak and deform. In the long run, if humans want to sustain life there, they will need to find ways to modify the soil so that plants can thrive more robustly. Signals from an alien world. For the first time in history, scientists believe they have detected radio signals coming from a planet outside our solar system. Using a radio telescope in the Netherlands, the research team observed 3 star systems with exoplanets. Among them, one system stood out. This star system is called Tau Boötis. The signal detected was so strong that astronomers believe it originated from the magnetic field of a planet orbiting this star. Jake Turner from Cornell University, the study's lead author, stated that this is the clearest signal ever observed of its kind. The planet lies about 51 light-years away in the constellation Boötis. By comparing the signal to emissions from Jupiter's magnetic field, scientists adjusted their measurements to detect signals from much farther distances, opening new possibilities for deep space observation. This discovery is just the beginning. Once the method is refined, humanity will be able to identify magnetic fields of distant planets and, through them, understand their formation history. The Golden Princess of the Silla Kingdom. In southeastern Korea, beneath the ancient soil of Gyeongju, once the dazzling capital of the Silla Kingdom, archaeologists unearthed a mysterious tomb filled with glittering gold treasures and priceless artifacts. This was the final resting place of an ancient princess, dating back to the 5th century. The Silla Kingdom once ruled most of the Korean peninsula for over a millennium, from 57 BCE to 935 CE. Inside the young princess's tomb, researchers found a golden crown, pendants, exquisite jewelry, a silver-decorated dagger, and hundreds of game pieces used to play Baduk, the ancient form of Go. The strange part is that these game pieces had only ever been found in the tombs of princes or male royalty. Archaeologists previously believed Baduk was a game reserved for noblemen. Yet here they were, in the tomb of a young woman. Their presence suggests she broke the norms of her time. She must have been truly exceptional. All these treasures were found within a large archaeological site where the ancient Silla capital once thrived, now home to over 300,000 residents. The sheer amount of gold makes it clear she came from the highest nobility. Her tomb is smaller than many other royal burials, suggesting she may have died young. The most reasonable theory: she was a princess. She once lived surrounded by luxury, in the golden glow of a palace, yet her life was cut short. Now, thousands of years later, her story lives again through each piece of jewelry and every ancient game piece, like whispers from the past to those who come after. Viking caves and ancient sacrifices. Around 1,100 years ago, a volcano in Iceland erupted violently. When the lava cooled, it left behind strange caves and tunnels within the frozen earth. The Vikings who had just arrived on this land witnessed the eruption in terror. They may have believed that Ragnarok, the end of the world, was near. After the eruption, the Vikings entered a cave where they built a stone structure shaped like a ship. There, they performed sacrificial rituals with various animals, pleading with the gods to calm their wrath. Alongside the burned animal bones, archaeologists were surprised to find beads and minerals originating from the Middle East, evidence that the Vikings had far-reaching trade networks beyond imagination. Today, at Hof, visitors can step into a meticulously reconstructed Viking village, complete with wooden huts, dark tunnels, and a hidden dungeon beneath the rocks. Though not an actual ancient site, it offers an immersive experience as if traveling back to the 10th century, into the life of Norse warriors. The village is surrounded by meadows where cows and horses graze under the backdrop of towering mountains. Recently, this location was used as a filming set for Universal Studios' movie Vikinger, directed by Iceland's renowned filmmaker Baltasar Kormákur, the world's oldest tattoo tools. A surprising discovery has reshaped our understanding of tattoo history. It turns out that ancient tattoo art may have begun in Tennessee. At an ancient archaeological site deep in the state's soil, scientists uncovered what is believed to be the oldest known tattooing tools in the world. These tools were crafted from turkey leg bones, which the region's Native American ancestors used to tattoo their skin at least 3,600 years ago. In fact, the indigenous people of Tennessee had been using turkey bones for tattooing for over 5,000 years, making them one of the first communities on Earth to practice tattooing aside from the famous case of Ötzi the Iceman. Ötzi lived about 5,250 years ago, was buried in ice, and only discovered in modern times. His skin still bears the oldest tattoos ever found on a human body. However, until now, no tattooing tools had ever been excavated that were this ancient. Along with the turkey bones, archaeologists found several other items linked to ancient tattooing practices. According to the research team, the tattoo artists of that era stored pigments in seashells. To create a tattoo, they dipped the sharp bone tips into the pigment, much like modern artists dipping needles into ink. Instead of ink, they used dyes extracted from plants. Based on residue analysis, the common pigments were black and red, or sometimes both. The ancient cord. Amid the dust of time, a small but meaningful discovery has shed new light on human history. Researchers found the first evidence that Neanderthals, our ancient ancestors, knew how to make cord from plant fibers. It sounds simple, even trivial, but this invention may have been a turning point that paved the way for all future human tools and innovations. With a piece of cord, humans could tie, hang, bind, trap animals, weave fabric, make jewelry, sew clothing, countless uses in a primitive world. Now, evidence of this ability has been found on a stone tool in southeastern France, once part of the Rhone River Valley, about 50,000 years ago. On the surface of a stone axe, archaeologists noticed a strange white residue. Under a microscope, they discovered twisted fibers, the remains of a cord. These fibers came from the inner bark of local trees. Neanderthals twisted the thin strips into strong rope, likely used to secure tools or perhaps to make loincloths, though there is no evidence they wore anything at all. According to scientists at Kenyon College in Ohio, the ability to make cord means Neanderthals were fully capable of producing bags, fabrics, and many other items. A small find, yet undeniable proof of early human creativity and ingenuity emerging in prehistoric times. Einstein's theory of relativity, confirmed by gravity probe. Over a century ago, Albert Einstein predicted a strange gravitational phenomenon called frame dragging, but believed it was impossible to measure. NASA proved otherwise. Gravity Probe B, launched in 2004, confirmed two of Einstein's key predictions. Earth warps the fabric of spacetime around it like a heavy ball, resting on a stretched sheet. And as Earth rotates, it drags spacetime along with it. The phenomenon is so subtle, it required 4 of the most precise gyroscopes ever built, sensitive enough to measure an angle almost unimaginably small. After a year of observations, the data revealed a slight drift in the gyroscopes, just enough to prove Einstein was right. This discovery doesn't affect daily life, but for astrophysics, it opens new insights into pulsars, spinning black holes, and the chaotic motions of galaxies. The fish with hands. Off the coast of Australia, scientists have recorded a strange marine creature, a fish with hands. Known as the red handfish, it resembles an ordinary fish, but moves across the seafloor using bright red hand-like fins. This species is so rare that it went unseen for over 20 years. Its recent rediscovery came through an underwater camera placed in the Tasman Fracture Marine Reserve. The footage thrilled researchers, as it was the first time anyone had seen this fish since 1999. Its scarcity is hard to explain, especially since it inhabits shallow waters. Scientists believe the species is critically endangered. Otherwise, it would have been spotted more often. There may be only a handful left crawling along the seafloor off Australia and Tasmania at depths of about 90 meters. The creature truly crawls across the ocean floor. It looks unusual, with limb-like appendages, a pale pink body, and elongated fins protruding from short arms. Its bright red eyes, pink lips, strange limbs, and dorsal fins make it look like something straight out of a Pokemon game. The haunted house. Caroline Humphreys claims she lives in one of the most haunted houses in the world. That house is the Ancient Ram Inn, an Old English inn located in the small town of Watton, under Edge. When Caroline's parents bought the property in 1968, the building had already stood for 1,000 years. The family turned the inn into a guest house, and over the years, they discovered chilling secrets hidden within its walls. They found numerous bones, jawbones, spines, skulls, femurs, all kinds. Caroline's father was the first to uncover a pile of human bones beneath the living room floor, alongside strange ritualistic knives. Years later, Caroline's partner found another stash of bones hidden under the stairs. The origins of the remains were never determined, but the presence of ceremonial knives, combined with a psychic's claim that children were buried on the property, led them to believe ancient sacrificial rituals, possibly by witches, once took place here about 500 years ago. During renovations, they even found a mummified cat sealed within the walls. All these traces have turned the house into a terrifying mystery, where death and ancient rituals seem to linger. The submerged village in Italy. In the northern mountains of Italy, where the still waters of a lake reflect the deep blue sky, lies a village that has slept beneath the surface for 70 years. Only a lonely bell tower rising from Lake Rhesia remains to remind the world that thousands of people once called this place home. Then, like a phoenix rising from ashes, the village of Curon briefly emerged. Curon was a thriving community from the 14th century, home to about 1,000 residents. But in the mid-20th century, authorities built a dam to power a hydroelectric plant. The entire village was submerged beneath the artificial lake, leaving only the bell tower standing like a needle pointing to the past. In winter, when the lake freezes, visitors can walk right up to the tower and touch history itself. In recent years, during maintenance of the hydroelectric plant, the lake had to be drained. For a brief moment, stone foundations, ancient wine cellars, stone staircases, and medieval walls quietly rose from the mud. Once again, Curon revealed its old face, but sadly, it happened during the pandemic, and no visitors were there to witness its rebirth. Only a few short weeks later, when maintenance was complete, the waters returned, burying Curon once more. Perhaps it will take another 70 years before the village is seen again, or more simply, one could visit in winter, when the lake freezes and memories still shimmer beneath a thin layer of ice. The ancient sea screw. In the 1990s, researchers discovered a strange object embedded in a rock, shaped almost exactly like a modern screw, nearly fossilized. What sparked controversy was its supposed age, around 300 million years old. The undeniable shape led to speculation about the possible existence of an advanced civilization hundreds of millions of years ago, or even the presence of extraterrestrials on Earth in ancient times. However, since the group possessing the artifact refused to allow independent examination, many experts considered it a hoax. Another theory suggests the object might actually be the fossil of a marine creature called a crinoid. Crinoids have existed for over 440 million years, with hundreds of species now extinct and some still alive today. Their fossils often have spiral shapes, remarkably similar to a screw, which could explain the strange appearance of this find. The secret gateway to the stars. Along a remote trail cutting across high rocky mountains in Peru, shrouded in clouds and cold winds, lies a massive door carved straight into the cliffside. No hinges, no handle, no welcoming mat, just a flat, rough stone face that seems to lead nowhere. Locals call it Amaru Muru. In the thin, breathless air, the sound of alpacas grazing drifts like whispers from another world. Before you stands a strange passageway, one that leads nowhere, or more precisely, no longer leads anywhere. The secret has been forgotten, and the knowledge to open it has faded into the past. According to ancient legend, this is not just an inert slab of rock. It is a gateway to the stars, a portal, a door to the universe. Whatever name it carries, its purpose remains unchanged, to allow humans to transcend the limits of the physical world. This enigmatic structure is also known as the Gate of the Gods, or Ayumara. For decades, modern historians dismissed the idea of space gateways. Yet science today is slowly catching up to what ancient peoples may have known millennia ago. Researchers like Freddie Silva believe that ancient cultures from Stonehenge to Mount Shasta mapped Earth's energy points. These were places where the boundaries between dimensions became so thin that, with the right secret words, one could pass through reality itself. Stone circles, empty archways, and sacred ruins scattered across the globe, from Ayumara to Newgrange to a crumbling dome in Portugal, all align along ley lines, thought to be the planet's ancient energy veins. Graham Hancock, a scholar deeply connected to the spiritual travel traditions of ancient cultures, particularly rituals involving the hallucinogenic brew ayahuasca, poses a provocative question. Ayahuasca, an intoxicating drink from the Amazon rainforest, can send people to meet spirits, beings from other dimensions, and even the ghosts of their childhood selves. But Hancock asks, what if these experiences are not hallucinations? What if the sacred sites themselves create real energetic effects? And what if these portals can only be activated by those who reach altered states of consciousness through such visionary substances? Returning to Ayumara, legend says that an Incan priest named Amaru Muru, fleeing from the invading Spanish, carried a sacred golden disc and placed it at the center of the stone gate. At that moment, the doorway glowed and opened, allowing him to step into the realm of the gods never to be seen again. After Amaru vanished, the gate closed forever. In modern times, Many visitors report strange sensations when touching the center of the stone door, odd vibrations, a warm rising energy, and some even claim out-of-body experiences. Could these all be reactions to a dormant energy still pulsing within this cosmic portal? And here is the most shocking part. In 2012, physicist Jack Scudder from the University of Iowa announced the discovery of real gateways, hidden energy tunnels, in space he called X-points. At these points, Earth's and the Sun's magnetic fields intertwine, opening passages for subatomic particles to stream through. NASA was so intrigued that they launched the magnetospheric multiscale mission to investigate. What they found was astonishing. These portals appear and disappear in an instant, unleashing torrents of electrons and sometimes causing the brilliant auroras at Earth's poles. For now, only microscopic particles can pass through, but it's enough to prove one thing: space gateways are real and can indeed be created. This leaves us with the ultimate question: how did the ancients know what modern science is only beginning to uncover? When did that knowledge vanish? The tsunami survivor who never was. About 3,600 years ago, the Thera volcano on the island of Santorini erupted with a force millions of times greater than an atomic bomb. The explosion triggered colossal tsunamis that swept across the Aegean Sea, devastating the Mediterranean region and pushing the Minoan civilization toward collapse. Amid the chaos, in a small town in Çeşme, Turkey, a young man and his dog were caught in the raging waters. They tried to flee, but the towering waves slammed them against a wall, burying both under the rubble. More than 3,000 years later, archaeologists uncovered their remains while excavating the site. For the first time, a direct victim of the Thera disaster was found in an archaeological context. Sediment layers reveal that the entire town was destroyed by sudden flooding. The site also expands the known reach of the tsunami, proving its destructive power spread much farther than previously thought. The eruption not only obliterated Akrotiri, but also caused a volcanic winter that reached as far as China. The story of the young man and his dog stands as a tragic testament to one of the most catastrophic natural disasters humanity has ever faced. The forgotten magic of Mesopotamia. Before Hogwarts, before the Salem witch trials, and certainly before you bought a crystal from an online store, the ancient Mesopotamian civilization was immersed in the world of magic. Ancient clay tablets reveal a realm filled with sorcerers, witches, exorcisms, cursed figurines, ritual fires, and a demon named Pazuzu. Around 700 BCE, a skilled sorcerer carved onto 9 tablets a masterpiece of ritual known as Mush-u-u, a guide to exorcisms with over 100 incantations, detailed ceremonies, and instructions on burning witch effigies to ashes. These practitioners were not wanderers, but trained specialists in temples. They read ancient texts and called upon gods to banish evil spirits. In Mesopotamian society, magic was everywhere, as natural as ordering an oat milk latte today. Having nightmares of demons? Call an exorcist. Feeling cursed? Burn a witch effigy. Dreaming of being possessed during pregnancy? Wear a Pazuzu amulet to protect your child. The same people who invented writing, the wheel, and the first cities also believed the world was surrounded by supernatural forces, both good and evil. They paved the way for science while offering sacrifices to underworld demons. Science and magic were inseparable. At the Louvre today, there is a little-known artifact called the Tablet of the Underworld. It's not a metal album cover, but a small bronze statue of Pazuzu engraved with ancient exorcism spells. This image depicts the sun god, Utu, as a divine surveillance camera, 7 Galu demons dragging souls to the underworld, a possessed patient lying on a bed, and 2 sorcerers dressed in fish-scale robes performing rituals by flickering firelight. Pazuzu, later infamous from The Exorcist, was originally a Sumerian entity revered as a protector of women and infants against the demoness Lamashtu, who kidnapped and devoured children. With a lion's head, wide wings, and a scorpion's tail, Pazuzu used his own dark power to fight other evil spirits and safeguard humans. The Tablet of the Underworld is one of the most vivid proofs of how obsessed the Sumerians were with demons, possession, and magic. About 30% of all surviving Akkadian cuneiform writings are about magic, omens, and the supernatural. That's like 1/3 of your library consisting entirely of fortune-telling, spells, and mystical Reddit threads. And here's the strangest part. They had temple schools dedicated to training exorcists and healers, the first medical schools blending science with magic. Learn to mix potions, master incantations, diagnose symptoms of possession, and don't forget the demon anatomy exam on Thursday. The Spanish bomb. In January 2022, in the town of Ferrol, Spain, a bomb from the Spanish Civil War was discovered, reviving terrifying memories of the past. While a building was undergoing renovation, an elderly resident who had survived the war happened to pass by. He remembered that as a 6-year-old child, fascist planes had bombed that very building, and not all the bombs had exploded. That memory compelled him to warn the workers. Construction stopped immediately, and a bomb squad with metal detectors was called in. They found the massive bomb, dropped by the Italian Air Force when it supported Franco during the war, lying dormant for over 80 years. Its explosive power was enough to flatten the entire building. It was sheer luck that the man appeared at the right moment, and even luckier that his childhood memory saved the neighborhood from a potential catastrophe. The footprints at White Sands. At White Sands National Park in New Mexico, scientists uncovered Ice Age footprints that tell the story of an ancient world. On the white sand, tracks of giant ground sloths, dire wolves, ancient camels, and mammoths towering over 4 meters high are still visible. But what excited researchers the most were the human footprints. Forensic analysis showed that one person had crossed the area and then returned on the same day. There were also tracks of someone moving quickly, carrying a child in their arms. These footprints intersected with those of a giant sloth, which had stopped, stood on its hind legs, and sniffed the air, perhaps sensing the presence of humans. This discovery pushes back the timeline of when humans first set foot in North America, instead of 13,000 years ago as long believed. The evidence suggests our ancestors were here thousands of years earlier. Stone Age aliens. Deep in a remote cave within the jungles of India, where the air is thick with the dust of a time before language existed, ancient paintings believed to be over 10,000 years old pose a question so profound it unsettles both scientists and the public. Did early humans encounter extraterrestrial beings? This is the wilderness of Chhattisgarh, where a single beam of flashlight across the rock walls reveals bizarre figures, half human, half animal beings, hovering discs, and groups of visitors who seem to belong to an interstellar civilization searching for a landing spot among the mountains. Archaeologists scratch their heads, while conspiracy theorists simply say, "Told you so." These are not just prehistoric art, they look like a cosmic story carved in stone long before human civilization began. Among the familiar depictions of people, deer, and daily life scenes, there are anomalies no one can explain. Stray giraffes, an animal not native to India, or creatures resembling kangaroos, which only exist in Australia. How could a Stone Age artist carve the likeness of a kangaroo in an Indian cave 12,000 years ago? Did aliens bring illustrated books? Or perhaps they took those ancient artists on a tour to the edge of the world. And then there are the images impossible to ignore: hovering discs, floating spheres, and faceless humanoid figures that look as though they stepped out of a secret Area 51 base. Some wear hoods, others appear to hold objects resembling ray weapons or tools from another world. If early humans simply carved what they saw, why do spaceships and strange beings appear in their art? And why do they appear simultaneously across continents? These enigmatic figures are not unique to India. Similar depictions exist in Australia and other sacred sites. In Australian caves, 5,000-year-old rock art known as Wandjina portrays beings with large heads, big eyes, and no mouths, eerily similar to the gray aliens of modern UFO lore. In Utah's Barrier Canyon, rock paintings show tall humanoids with insect-like eyes and elongated bodies. In Kakadu National Park in Australia, figures with hooded heads stand guard like frozen space guides, locked forever in ancient pigment. How can we believe that ancient communities, separated by half the globe with no contact, all imagined the same aliens? Or were they recording something that truly happened, something modern science stubbornly refuses to acknowledge? No one knows for sure what those prehistoric artists saw. They may have looked up at the sky and witnessed strange craft, powerful gods, or simply eaten the wrong kind of mushroom during foraging. But one thing is undeniable: they left behind a stone message for the future. And now, our task is to ensure that memory is not forgotten. Pre-flood ruins in Turkey. Under the scorching sun of southeastern Turkey, amid the barren landscapes of Mardin, archaeologists are peeling back the veil of time to reveal humanity's most distant past. They have uncovered a structure dating back 13,000 years older than writing, the pyramids, and even Göbekli Tepe, once considered the world's oldest religious site. Its name is Bonkuklu Tarla, a name destined to echo through future archaeological reports. This site is so ancient, it seems almost impossible that it exists. Led by archaeologist Ergul Kodash, the team uncovered small but sturdy structures organized like a prehistoric village. Most remarkable of all, they are a full millennium older than Göbekli Tepe. 3 layers of architecture stack, like the layers of a historical cake. Stone walls and clay floors hardened with time still stand partially intact. But what they were built for, even experts cannot say. Community center is the term Kodash proposes. But it could have been a temple, a meeting hall, a storage site, or simply a resting place serving free mammoth steaks. Your guess is as good as theirs. Even more fascinating, the prehistoric people here valued beauty. Thousands of beads have been found carved from bone, engraved with scorpions, snakes, bulls, spiders, and mountain goats. A Stone Age jewelry collection, or perhaps an actual prehistoric craft shop. With support from the Turkish Historical Society and local authorities, the excavation site has expanded significantly. When completed, it will be transformed into an archaeological tourist attraction. But the story doesn't end here. Who knows what might be unearthed before the site becomes a museum, and what might rewrite the entire history of human evolution. The Doctor's House. In the city of Rimini, Italy, located in Piazza Ferrari, an ancient structure known as the Doctor's House tells the story of Roman medicine. Discovered in 1989, the site underwent 18 years of excavation before opening to the public. Built in the 2nd century CE, the house was once both the residence and workplace of a physician. Its name comes from the collection of over 150 medical tools found there, from scales and medicine containers to preserved pharmaceutical jars. Particularly noteworthy was a therapeutic vessel specially designed for the foot. The greatest surprise lay in the surgical room where the doctor once treated patients. There, archaeologists uncovered a small hoard of coins left around 260 CE, along with a special device designed to extract arrowheads. Nearby were the ruins of a palace destroyed in the 6th century, when Rimini was caught in the war between the Goths and the Byzantines. The palace was buried and later turned into a Christian cemetery, where the mosaic floors were smashed to make room for burials, making the excavation even more haunting. Atlantis, the lost city in South America? Atlantis has haunted generations, a legendary city, humanity's lost paradise, and an eternal symbol of history's unsolved mysteries. But what if this city is not buried beneath the ocean as everyone believes? What if Atlantis lies quietly on land, hidden among the high plateaus of South America? Over 2,500 years ago, in the dialogues Timaeus and Critias, the philosopher Plato recorded one of the most enigmatic travel accounts ever written. He described an island the size of a continent, Atlantis, with a capital sharing the same name. While unoriginal in naming, the description stunned readers: a land of wealth with glowing metals, advanced technology, and enough gold and silver to shame any pirate. Then, the entire island, its city, people, and treasures was swallowed by the wrath of the sea. Atlantis vanished without a trace. That was the myth. But today, modern geology is trying to decode Plato's metaphorical account. Traditional theories place Atlantis in Crete, Thera, or the Azores. Some scientists believe it was a real island wiped out by a massive tsunami, yet no ruins have been found. Perhaps archaeologists have been searching in the wrong place for an entire century. A bold new theory situates Atlantis in Bolivia's Altiplano, a vast plateau, thousands of meters high. Strangely, this land matches Plato's description, from its terrain to traces of an ancient inland sea where Lake Pupo once stretched, possibly the heart of the lost Atlantis. Surrounding the area are ancient sites like Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, among the most mysterious structures on Earth. The stone blocks here are larger than human anxieties and cut with precision surpassing Swiss watches. Perhaps aliens lent a hand in their construction? Plato wrote that Atlantis was destroyed because of its people's moral decay. Poseidon grew angry and drowned them all. In Bolivia's local legends, the water god Tunupa is said to have wiped out a corrupt civilization with a great flood. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or maybe Atlantis never sank at all, merely hiding in the Andes. If so, could the Inca be the descendants of the Atlanteans who survived? Spears made from beaver chemicals. At the Canadian Conservation Institute, scientists discovered a 6,000-year-old spear with a unique feature. It was bound together using secretions from a beaver's anal gland, known as castoreum. This is the earliest known evidence of humans using castoreum in weapon making. The ancient spear, an atlatl, was found near Alligator Lake in Yukon, close to the Canadian-Alaskan border. Two indigenous groups, the Carcross and Kwanlin Dune, once lived there, hunting caribou and sheep. As the ice melted, artifacts surfaced, tools and weapons among them. The spear, nearly 2 meters long, was crafted from birchwood. Its tip was secured with sinew. Feathers were attached at the rear, and castoreum was used as an adhesive, an ancient version of superglue. The mystery lies in how prehistoric people discovered that beaver secretions could transform into a durable binding agent, a revelation likely born from bold experimentation. The ancient ancestor of the velociraptor. Over 100 million years ago, on what is now the Isle of Wight in England, a bird-like predator roamed. With massive claws to tear apart prey and serrated teeth to rip flesh, It was a formidable hunter of the early Cretaceous period. This creature, related to but older and stronger than the velociraptor, measured about 3 meters long, the size of a large wolf. While not the top predator of its environment, it posed a serious threat to smaller dinosaurs. In 2004, storms and erosion exposed its fossils on the beach. Recently, scientists identified it as a new species named Vectiraptor greeni, the first large raptor ever found in the UK. Like other raptors, Vectiraptor was an ancestor of modern birds, with a feathered body, sharp teeth, and sickle-shaped claws. It may have used its claws to climb trees or deliver fatal wounds, causing prey to bleed to death. With its heavy build, it relied on strength more than speed to bring down victims. This discovery adds to the evidence of dinosaur diversity. According to Dr. Nick Longrich, despite over a century of research on the Isle of Wight, new finds continue to emerge. How did the ancient Egyptians practice magic? In the ancient world of the Nile, where emotions had no off switch and love and hate were measured by the wrath of the gods, Egyptians sought a cure for the soul that came not from doctors or therapists, but from papyrus scrolls and mystical spells. When love turned obsessive or hatred became venomous, Egyptians didn't seek psychological apps or friendly advice. They turned to Coptic magic, a form of sorcery existing alongside early Christianity, when people had abandoned the worship of Ra and the practice of mummification, yet still clung to the supernatural. Ancient gods like Osiris and Isis were replaced by angels and saints. But prayers, exorcisms, love charms, and curses persisted. Only now, instead of invoking Egyptian deities, they called on God and Archangel Michael. Thanks to the work of Dr. Korshi Dosu and Marin T. Prininger from the University of Würzburg, a collection called Papyri Copticae Magicae has emerged over 600 pages, preserving Coptic magical spells and rituals. These include love charms, breakup curses, and recipes to sour an enemy's wine. Coptic sorcerers were unashamed. Their love always came with conditions. If they could not have someone, they cursed them. Some spells caused sleeplessness, others spoiled food, and some were crafted just to ruin a party. But Coptic magic was not only for romance, it was also medicine. Headaches, fevers, insomnia all had corresponding spells. As Egypt fully embraced Christianity, people never abandoned magic. They simply rebranded it. Old gods became angels, demons grew more organized, and spells stayed the same, this time written alongside biblical passages. Over 600 magical texts have survived 1,700 years. Previously, only about 100 were published. Now, Papyri Copticae Magicae opens an unprecedented treasure trove, and this is only the first volume, Dr. Dosu expects at least 7 more to follow a real-life Harry Potter series, minus the flying brooms, but filled with spells once truly practiced. These texts reveal something simple. No matter the era, humans have always longed for love, wished their enemies ill, feared sickness, death, and unseen forces that made them uneasy. They did not turn to magic for drama. They turned to it because it was an essential part of life. Next time you find yourself torn between love and hate, remember that in ancient Egypt, someone once wrote a spell for exactly that, carried it around their neck, whispering it every time their beloved turned away. Coptic magic was therapy, love, pain, relief, and divine fury, all rolled into a single papyrus scroll when a UFO delayed NASA's mission. In September 2006, the Space Shuttle Atlantis had completed a smooth journey to the International Space Station and was preparing to return to Earth. But its re-entry was delayed by a mysterious object. A strange mass drifted alongside the shuttle, moving rhythmically as if part of the mission. The onboard camera recorded the object, but the grainy footage of the time only showed a dark shape, slowly spinning in orbit. The crew was baffled, and Mission Control in Houston immediately ordered all landing procedures halted. Commander Brent Jett described the object as 2 odd rings floating in space, unlike any equipment used in the mission. NASA later proposed several theories ranging from ice particles to bits of plastic or space debris, but none were confirmed. To this day, the incident remains an unsolved mystery, a reminder that in the vastness of space, there are always things beyond human understanding. Fragmentarium, when artificial intelligence deciphers history. At the Institute of Assyriology at Ludwig Maximilian University in Germany, linguists are rewriting history with an unexpected tool, artificial intelligence. They call it Fragmentarium, a machine designed to do what no one had ever achieved before. Since 2018, Professor Enrique Jimenez and his team have embarked on an ambitious project, digitizing every surviving fragment of cuneiform text from the ancient Babylonian civilization. To date, They have photographed and archived over 22,000 clay tablet fragments, texts shattered, burned, and faded by time. For decades, archaeologists spent countless hours, months, and years comparing wedge-shaped marks and tiny carvings, trying to piece the fragments back together, like assembling thousands of skull shards without a reference image. But fragmentarium changed everything. In mere hours, it can accomplish what humans would take years to complete. Using neural networks, the same technology behind facial recognition and language translation, fragmentarium identifies patterns, matches connections, and reconstructs ancient literature, legal codes, creation myths, and epic poetry from Mesopotamia that had been lost for millennia. And this is only the beginning. Professor Jimenez hopes the technology will pave the way for decoding Egyptian hieroglyphs, Mayan glyphs, and Sanskrit manuscripts. If successful, a data renaissance may soon emerge, driven by algorithms themselves. The past is no longer buried under layers of dust. It is being rebuilt on the cloud. It may sound like science fiction, but it's happening now. One of the most astounding recent discoveries is an entirely new version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, a story written around 2100 BCE and considered humanity's first fairy tale. The newly reconstructed sections, uncovered by AI, reveal surprising differences from the known version. In the future, artificial intelligence will become an indispensable tool for recovering lost histories. The remaining question is, will humanity use it for good or for ill? The Poverty Point Culture, a mystery on the Mississippi Plains. Amid the flatlands of the lower Mississippi Valley lies an archaeological site with a curious name, Poverty Point. Don't be fooled by the name. This place was far from poor. It is one of North America's greatest and most mysterious archaeological sites. Around 1800 BCE, at the end of the Archaic period, the first builders began leveling the land, constructing massive earthen mounds. They were not farmers but hunters and fishermen, a society without metal, without the wheel, yet they created an enormous ceremonial complex of earthworks that endured for 600 years. Archaeologists call them the Poverty Point Culture, though it's not the name they call themselves. They lived along the Gulf Coast, stretching hundreds of kilometers, leaving behind over 100 sites. Their origins remain a mystery. Some scholars suggest they were descendants of the first Homo sapiens to set foot on the continent from the Bering Land Bridge 12,000 to 15,000 years ago. The most impressive structure here is Mound A, an artificial hill 72 feet tall, shaped like a giant bird. It is often called the Bird Mound. The biggest question remains, what was this place built for? A settlement? An ancient trading hub? An astronomical observatory? A religious temple? No one knows for certain, but every excavation sparks the feeling that this was once a thriving culture that suddenly vanished. The Yellowstone supervolcano. Hidden beneath the serene and mesmerizing beauty of Yellowstone National Park lies a deadly mystery, a ticking time bomb silently counting down. This is America's most famous wilderness, a place where geysers like Old Faithful shoot into the sky, wild herds roam through endless forests, and trails stretch as far as the eye can see. Yet all of this is only a fragile surface layer covering one of the largest active volcanic systems in the world, the Yellowstone supervolcano. Beneath the green forests and the seemingly gentle hot springs, the ground here is in constant motion. Yellowstone trembles regularly because it sits directly on top of a supervolcano and is surrounded by intense geothermal activity. This area is notorious for its high seismic frequency, with an average of 1,500 to 2,500 earthquakes every year. An astonishing figure. Occasionally, news reports issue warnings about unusual underground movements in Yellowstone, urging people to remain alert. Those who have stood near its hot springs and geysers can clearly hear eerie sounds and feel the ground subtly quiver, as if the earth itself is whispering an untold secret. Could it happen again? Could Yellowstone have the power to wipe out human civilization? The answer is, it could. But the likelihood is extremely low. According to experts at the U.S. Geological Survey, the probability of the Yellowstone supervolcano erupting in any given year is only about 0.0014%. That's 3 zeros after the decimal point. In fact, the magma chamber beneath the park is currently only 5 to 15% molten, far from the threshold needed to trigger a massive eruption anytime soon. However, if the day ever comes when the news announces that Yellowstone is awakening, the world will face a survival test unlike anything it has ever known. The secret of the dark side of the moon. The story begins with doubts about whether the moon is as empty as humans believe. Online, a mysterious video surfaced, allegedly recorded by Neil Armstrong during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. According to rumors, the footage not only shows the barren lunar surface, but also reveals strange structures with shapes clearly unnatural, rectangular, angular formations resembling the ruins of an abandoned city. In the 1960s, during the height of the space race, the United States reached its peak with the moon landing. Yet after only a few missions, NASA abruptly stopped, stored away its equipment, and declared the objective achieved. The sudden halt raised questions. The video, known as Capture 171, claims to show structures on the moon that could not have formed naturally unless lava learned to build architecture. Whether true or not, no one has verified it to this day. The astronauts' strange experiences in space add weight to the story. Edgar Mitchell, one of the men who walked on the moon, once stated, "There is no doubt we are being visited." These words did not come from a dreamer, but from someone who set foot on alien ground. Other evidence surfaced. Dr. John Brandenburg, former deputy director of NASA's Clementine mission, revealed that the mission's real purpose in 1994 was to check whether someone had built a base on the moon. In photos, the team spotted a massive rectangular structure that appeared entirely artificial. When asked, Brandenburg bluntly said, "It's not ours. We couldn't have built it. That means someone else was there first." Such claims raise the question: if NASA scientists admit to something not of human origin, how many other secrets are being kept? No one dares confirm the video's authenticity. It may be a hoax, but even if the footage is not proof of an alien city, it does not rule out the possibility that a civilization once existed there. The accounts from astronauts, scientists, and insiders continue to fuel suspicion. Was it a forgotten city? An ancient way station in the galaxy? A lunar version of Atlantis? Or just bizarre rocks? The answer remains in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. The most striking discovery of alien life. A small red dwarf star named K218b has captured the scientific world's attention after researchers detected signs of life on it. Not direct life, but chemical traces that can only be produced by living organisms, specifically marine algae. A team from the University of Cambridge, using the James Webb Space Telescope, detected in K218b's hydrogen-rich atmosphere a molecule called dimethyl sulfide. On Earth, DMS is only produced by living organisms, mainly phytoplankton. This discovery raises the question, is some form of life producing this compound on that distant planet, or is it just a cosmic coincidence? Some scientists see this as compelling evidence for extraterrestrial life, yet skepticism remains. K218b's structure is still uncertain. Some argue it is a Haitian planet, a water world with a hydrogen atmosphere, part super-Earth, part mini-Neptune. Dr. Niku Madhusudan, lead author of the study, called it a revolutionary moment. "I think we've just found extraterrestrial soup." Conversely, Dr. Christopher Glein of the Southwest Research Institute warns that K218b might simply be a massive rock with lava oceans and a toxic atmosphere. While this is not definitive proof, the finding whispers from the cosmos, urging humanity to keep searching. Even the most cautious scientists are intrigued. Nicole Lewis, an exoplanet expert at Cornell University, says, "I'm not ready to shout that aliens exist, but I'm always ready to do so." At present, science stands between two possibilities. Either this is humanity's first detected sign of life beyond Earth, or it's just a planet releasing strange compounds unrelated to any organism. Either way, upcoming observations with next-generation telescopes promise to bring answers. The ancient giant bull. In October 1966, archaeologists from the Ica Regional Museum in Peru unearthed a massive egg-shaped object, taller than an adult human. It turned out to be an enormous clay vessel, crafted about 2,400 years ago to store grains. The jar measured roughly 1.8 meters in diameter and stood over 2.7 meters tall. Inside, they found various seeds, including beans, cassava, and guava. Creating such a colossal vessel thousands of years ago would have been an extraordinary challenge. Even with modern technology, scientists believe it must have been produced in an advanced pottery workshop, yet no trace of such a facility has been discovered in the area. The jar may have been transported from elsewhere, but how and why remain mysteries. The vessel was found in the Ica region, near the Nazca lines and the famous Paracas skulls. Despite its impressive size, researchers have yet to identify which culture created it or why they needed such a large container. Clearly, it was meant for food storage, but smaller jars would have been far more practical for use and transport. The only plausible theory is that the ancient Peruvians believed burying a giant jar filled with food underground could preserve it longer. This discovery reveals that their knowledge and skills far exceeded what modern humans once assumed. The nightmare called gray goo. Not everyone fears zombies or aliens. For some, the most terrifying destroyer could simply be a pile of gray sludge. Sounds like a bad soup recipe from the Great Depression? In reality, this sludge has nothing to do with food. It is an apocalyptic nightmare, a vision of the world being consumed not by explosions, but by a silent wave of microscopic robots. Imagine a future where humans have mastered nanotechnology, the ability to build machines at the molecular and atomic scale. These machines are so small, they can only be seen with powerful microscopes. In his book Engines of Creation, Eric Drexler introduced the concept of assemblers, tiny nanobots capable of constructing any object, atom by atom. A pizza, a smartphone, even a spaceship, just program a few assemblers, and they can create anything from nothing. But this is where the scenario turns terrifying. Drexler also envisioned what would happen if these assemblers began making more of themselves. And then millions, billions of copies followed. Like a printer that never stops, but instead of using paper, its raw material is everything on Earth. These out-of-control machines would begin consuming all organic matter, plants, animals, humans, to endlessly replicate themselves. All life would be shredded and restructured into soulless machines. Earth would become a cold, gray ocean of sticky nanobots, what scientists call gray goo. Could this really happen? Many scientists are skeptical. Expert Robert A. Freitas Jr. argues that we would notice something unusual long before things got out of control. He believes humanity would have enough time to stop the disaster. Other researchers insist that self-replicating nanobots would be programmed with strict control mechanisms like digital birth control to prevent them from spiraling out of control. Some even say that the technology to create self-replicating assemblers is still far from reality. At present, humans haven't even built a single one, let alone billions that could survive in deserts, deep oceans, or inside the human body. Still, nanotechnology carries risks. At the nanoscale, even ordinary substances can become toxic. What's harmless to humans at a larger scale may turn dangerous when reduced to atomic size. That's why scientists must handle nanomaterials with extreme caution. Should we be more careful when creating machines capable of replicating themselves? Could humanity's own invention one day slip beyond our control? Or is gray goo just a tech-age ghost story? That remains an open question in our uncertain times. If you enjoyed these mysterious stories, share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next discoveries. See you in the next video.